just because we are UDP. We are here because we are all from Brufut here. My father hails from here. Jinaki Manneh Kunda Brufut here. My brother lives here. My brother, my junior brother Buba, studied in Ghana. He went to Takoradi. He did Form 3, Form 4, Form 5 in Takoradi. And then he went to Winneba. That's where he did his sixth form. I lived in Côte d'Ivoire for 14 years, working for the African Development Bank, before we moved to Tunisia. Almost every quarter at least, every 3 months at least, I took my family, we went on vacation or long weekends to Ghana. I love Ghana. We used to go to sometimes Cape Coast, enjoy the beach, the sea, etc., the rocky sea, etc. Sometimes we go all the way to, if it's a long period, we go to Accra, spend some days in Cape Coast, and then we go to Accra. Not once did anybody stop me and ask me for an alien's registration certificate. Not once. For 14 years I've been going to Ghana, not once did they stop me. My brother studied in Ghana for 5 years, not once did anybody ask him for an alien's registration certificate. You know why? Because they respect the international conventions and agreements signed by Ghana. We are all ECOWAS citizens. And as ECOWAS citizens, we have the ECOWAS Protocol on free movement and establishment of ECOWAS citizens. So any ECOWAS citizen, forget being born in the Gambia here. If you're an ECOWAS citizen, you should be able to live in the Gambia here, and nobody should harass you. Nobody should ask you for an alien's registration certificate that they call alliance. No. The ECOWAS Protocol gives all of us the liberty to go live and work wherever we want within the ECOWAS territory. That's why today we have ECOWAS passport, Gambia, ECOWAS passport, Ghana, ECOWAS passport, Côte d'Ivoire. I lived in Côte d'Ivoire, I said, for 14 years. I was never, ever asked to get an alien's registration certificate because I'm an ECOWAS citizen. So why do we subject other people to that here? Our kids go and live in other countries, in North America, etc., and Europe, who go by the back way. We crave that they get the papers for those countries, so they can become citizens, so they can have their rights. And they do manage to get sometimes. But the good thing about ECOWAS is the only African institution called the Regional Economic Communities, which gives us the right to free movement and establishment. So because of that, if you establish in the Gambia as an ECOWAS citizen, you are entitled to live here freely and nobody harass you, nobody asks you for anything. The alien certificate was supposed to be a temporary measure. When you add those international institutions, you have a temporary period in which they say, okay, a state can apply for a couple of years to get its paper and everything, paperwork and everything in order before they allow foreigners to settle without getting to pay those certificates. And the Gambia kept it permanent. Temporarily became permanent. It's wrong. In ECOWAS, if you move to stay here, you are entitled to, I'm speaking in English because I know most of you speak Mandinka, but there might be some who don't speak Mandinka. So let me speak a language that we can all understand. You know? So let's just, but for everybody to understand, including the authorities, that's why I'm speaking in Mandinka, is in English. Now, if you settle in that country, you are entitled to the educational facilities in the country. So you should be able to go all the way to university without anybody harassing you. You are entitled to the social benefits in the country. You should be able to use all the hospitals, all the other facilities in the social sector. You should be able to have social security and housing. If you work anywhere, you can have it transferred here to live here and use it here. That is the law, right? But above all of that, we have the United Nations conventions on statelessness. These were passed in 1954 and 1961. The 1954 United Nations Convention on Statelessness defines who is a stateless person. And the 1961 convention says we must do everything possible to prevent statelessness. Now, if you live here, forget being born here, if you live here from childhood with your parents and you do not have a Ghanaian nationality document, if we deny you Gambian nationality documents, you are stateless. You cannot travel outside this country. You cannot get any banking documents if you want to buy land. And you are stateless. And the UN Convention of 1961 says that must not happen. So any child born in a country where he or she resides, if he or she cannot get a paper from another country he is supposed to have originated from, we should give him the papers of the country where he resides. You go to Ghana, you're considered foreign. You stay in the Gambia, they consider you as foreigners. That's statelessness. That is the definition of statelessness. And the UN Conventions of 54 and 61 says that should not be allowed. And we signed it. The Gambia signed the UN Convention of 1961 in 2014. But Parliament has not yet domesticated it. It was ratified, by Parliament, but government has not domesticated it. So this should be domesticated so that it becomes part of our laws. You see, we have to be fair with each other. We have to be humane. How can you have all of these kids, look at them there, born here, their parents were born here, and you do not allow them to even go to university? Wow. So you're wasting talent. A number of these people here could have been graduates from university, doctors, engineers, lawyers, economists, what have you, and they will contribute to the economy here. You see, this is why the US is ahead of everybody. You're born in the US, they call it jus soli in law. I'm a lawyer, by the way. They call it jus soli. If you're born in the country, the law of the land, you're born there, you are a US citizen. Unless your father is a diplomat, is working there, that's different, but those are some exceptions. The great rule, that's why our wives get pregnant and they go to the US to deliver, so the kids can have nationality. But what does that do? We will have Gambians here who train here until grade 12, do maybe first degree here, and they go to university in the US, they have nationality, they stay there. So they have talent for free. We have subsidized the education system and everything for the US. So we train them until they get a degree, we go there, they train them for 2-3 years, they become US citizens, and all the talent stays in the US. Why can't we do the same here? Why can't we attract talent here and keep it here? Especially for those who are born here, whose parents were born here. And remember, the 1965 Constitution, when we became independent, said that anybody who was born in the Gambia before 1965 is de facto and de jure Gambian. Right? The 1970 Constitution, as well, when we became a republic, said those who were born here, again, jus soli was applicable. You are a Gambian. So if your parents were here before then, you are Gambian. And you are supposed to have that nationality. But even assuming you are not, the ECOWAS treaties and protocols give you the right to live here free of harassment and to develop here the way you want. But to top it all, we should have what we call a path to citizenship. No, we know that you can become Gambian by marriage. You can become Gambian by naturalization. But for people who were born here, who lived all their lives here, we should start thinking of amending our laws. Because, I'm not encouraging anybody to do anything illegal. But we must start by thinking, why don't we amend our laws to say that anybody who is born in the Gambia, who resides in the Gambia, when you turn 18, you are entitled to be a Gambian national. We can do that. And we will only stand to gain. Because all of these young men and women here, plus even the elder ones, are not going back to Ghana. They're staying here. This is talent for the Gambia. These are productive people who work here and pay taxes here. That's good for the country. Why don't we encourage that? Why do we stay so dogmatic? If I go to Senegal today, somebody said here, I am Manneh. There are a lot of Manehs in Senegal. I can probably get a nationality much more easily than a Jamura or a Kofi or a Amoka here. I say, oh, no, that's your name is not Gambian. No. My son is a Manneh. He has an American nationality. There are no Manehs in the US. So basically what I'm saying is we have to start being fair to each other. And each other I mean by the people who live in this country, the people who have chosen. I am a Gambian by accident. My parents happen to have been Gambian and I was born here. I was a Gambian by accident. I did not choose it. It was more or less gifted to me. The people here chose to become Gambian. That's an active decision being made there. You could have lived in Ghana. You go to Ghana today, see how Ghana is prospering, how Ghana is going places. But they still chose to live here. That deserves respect, that deserves being treated properly, that deserves giving them what is due to them. And that is not just Ghanaians, but other foreigners who live here. We should start thinking about those things. We shouldn't be so fearful of anything coming from outside. What comes from outside is used to pollinate what we have here. Cross-fertilization is called. They bring in new talent, they bring in new skills, they bring in capital, they bring in other things that we need to grow. Otherwise, what do we call it? Sclerosis. We just stay here amongst ourselves, we don't grow. Bring in other people, other talents. Let's not be afraid of change. Let's embrace change and move with it. That's what we are asking. And when I heard the stories here, I was getting goosebumps. How? How do we manage to accept that in our community? How do we manage to see people maltreated like that and it doesn't make anybody upset? How do we have immigration officers come here and violate your rights without you taking them to court? We should be taking them to court. And probably we should start thinking of that. Not you, because they will harass you. But we should probably start thinking of taking them to court, Honorable. We should start working along those lines to make sure that our people respect the law. We have got to be a country of laws. The rule of law should prevail, not force, not power. Not because I have a uniform on me, I can do anything. No. Those people are paid partly by the taxes you pay. Even though you don't have the certificates, the nationality certificates or the birth certificate, you pay part of the salary of those people. I'm getting very passionate about this, and I don't want to take too much time. It's getting dark. Other people are here. I'm going to cut it short at that. But this is the first of many meetings we will have. Okay? We will follow this up. We'll take it up. Thank you all very much.